Hello there and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here. Welcome, my fellow spiritual psychic travelers and seekers of the cosmic light. Happy new moon solar eclipse to you. Happy new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. At least I hope it's happy. I don't know if it will be with these energies that we're having, frankly. But hopefully you find a way to make your own happiness with this. This solar eclipse is exact, or actually the new moon is exact, I should say, at 5:53 a.m. on Thursday, June 10th. So hopefully you'll be seeing this video soon around then, but if not, no worries, because it's a 6-month cycle. This is really initiating a longer cycle because the next solar eclipse isn't until December 4th. So you have some time to work with these energies, dear one, but you'll probably be feeling it the strongest right now, right around the time of the eclipse, and for 2 to 6 weeks after. And like I said, this is in Gemini. Well, first of all, let's talk new moon. Happy new moon. You probably know this, or maybe you don't, but have you heard that the new moon each month is our time of monthly rebirth? So this is a time typically in the month where there is more of a sense of wholeness and alignment within the self. It's a time of new beginnings. And so there can be closely after this. It's not usually right on the day of the new moon. In fact, right before the new moon, and maybe even the day of, the energies can feel quite low. I find, at least in my experience, it takes a few days for the momentum and the energy to pick up after the new moon. And especially when we see that crescent or the first quarter moon, then things really begin to pick up. So that's a few days after the new moon. But in any case, this is a time either right at the new moon or a few days after. It's a time of energy and initiative for most of us, when we can really get started with our plans and get the ball rolling, and if we've been dragging, we can get things done again. And I don't know about you, but I have been feeling quite a bit of energy and initiative. But this isn't any ordinary new moon. This is part of a larger eclipse cycle. It's a solar eclipse, which, by the way, was considered the worst by the ancients, okay? The ancient astrologers and the ancient people really freaked out over these solar eclipses. And, you know, I mean, imagine before electricity, when the sun, you know, well, even before candles. Imagine before candles, I don't know, I guess they probably had torches from fire, but still with the sun blacking out, you know, when the sun was the main light, because that's what happens with the solar eclipse. At any new moon, the moon is between the sun and the earth. But here we have the moon casting a shadow over the sun. Think about that. The moon, the energy of the subconscious, the emotional realm, is casting the shadow over the conscious self symbol, the sun. I mean, right off the top, you can get something off of that, right? You can think about what might be happening here, regardless of the signs. There's a kind of confusion that can reign during the times around the solar eclipses, because the emotions that are deep and unprocessed, you know, the subconscious emotions, can come burbling up suddenly, and they can cast their shadow over the conscious mind. And when I say the conscious mind here, I'm not really so much just talking about the rational mind or the linear self, although it could include that, but the soul mind, because the sun is representative of the soul, that creative spark, and becoming conscious. Like when we say we're on a path of spiritual awareness, for example, and consciousness, that is connected to the solar energies in some ways. Now, the sun can also be an ego-orientated heavenly body, but it's more than that, really. It's that soul essence. So, yes, the emotions and all the unprocessed emotional energy and, you know, even psychic energy to some extent, because the moon is really psychic, too, and ancestral. So a lot of that comes up at a solar eclipse, regardless of the signs. So yeah, some of that might be coming up for you right now, and you might not be in your right mind. You know, you might not be as clear as usual. Now you might be. I mean, I think a lot of it's going to depend on if you do the work, the spiritual work in terms of staying conscious and aware. But even then, nobody is immune from these influences. And if you think you are, be careful. Be careful, because that's really a way to like taunt fate, to go around and saying, I'm not affected by these things. Even the great masters, the great yogis, would wear certain jewelry and stones and crystals during certain kinds of transits to help them, basically to help protect their energy fields from the weight of the transits. And listen, I'm not an expert in that. I don't know exactly which crystal you should be wearing right now. I think a lot of it would depend on your birth chart, actually. It absolutely would depend on your very precise, unique birth chart down to the minute you were born. So I can't advise you on that here in a YouTube video. But I digress here. Just understand these energies do affect us, and so the emotions are churning, things are coming up. And this eclipse, of course, is unique by sign and by aspect. It's occurring in the sign of Gemini. It's at 19 degrees Gemini. And again, in case you missed that earlier date, this new moon eclipse is happening at 5:53 a.m. Central Daylight Time on June 10th, 2021. That's a Thursday. And that would be, I believe, 6:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the United States. And if you're in Europe, that's going to be, quite a bit earlier in the night, but I believe it would still be, well, it depends on where you're at. I think it would still be on June 10th. It might actually be a little bit earlier for you. Anyway, it's coming up here. It's going to be here real soon. It's less than 24 hours out from when I'm filming this video. So for sure, by the time you watch this video, it's already been exact. And yet, remember, the influence is continuing. I mean, at least for 2 to 4 weeks. A lot of people feel it for a month afterwards really strongly, but really it's a 6-month cycle. It's a 6-month cycle. It's supposed to be, in some ways, okay, normal new moon, we have one every month, right? So normal new moon, it's that energy and initiative to get stuff done for the month ahead. And I think that you should plan for your month ahead, your lunar month ahead, okay? So basically, 29 days from the date of this new moon, okay? Or you can think just a month if you want, June 10th to July, 9th, approximately. So yes, you can make your plan, but because this is an eclipse, there is a lot of confusion, okay? And this is also in the sign of Gemini, which normally, Gemini is a very rational sign. It's very logical. Now, it does kind of get caught in duality. I mean, if you look at the Gemini symbol, it's the twins, the 2 lines, and I think that it can represent a lot of things. Actually, the old symbol for Gemini was the lovers. Did you know that? Before Gemini was the twins, it was the lovers, representing the yin and the yang. That beautiful male-female polarities within us all. So I also love to tune into that part of Gemini to really go deep with this. And I think that we think of Gemini now, in the modern time, in terms of thinking, we think of it as being, the sign mostly of just mental processes and logic, because we've left behind the true roots of it. We've left behind the yin-yang polarity. The mental processes part and the logic, that would be the yang aspect of Gemini. But I believe there's a hidden feminine side to Gemini as well. And I know I've seen it in some of my Gemini friends. There's a hidden heart there. There's a hidden softness, a kindness, a rooting for the underdog. I wouldn't describe it necessarily as nurturing, but a caring, an openness. There can be, it doesn't always have to be black and white, or maybe it doesn't always have to be black or white. It can be black and white, like the yin and the yang. Okay, I digress on that. But ordinarily, transits in Gemini might stimulate the logic. So we could become more clear-headed. We could have clearer communication. You could become more clear-headed. You could, if there's areas where you had been just confused, you might start working out a plan. But I don't know if that's going to happen here because, okay, get this. This eclipse is almost precisely conjunct Mercury in Gemini retrograde. Okay, yes, it's almost like the universe is having a great sense of humor with us right now. So it's conjunct Mercury retrograde, and I'm sure if you've heard of Mercury retrograde, you can imagine that this is not going to enhance our clarity of thought. In fact, with a solar eclipse, and by the way, the solar eclipses only happen at the new moon, okay? That's the only time they can happen. Not every new moon is a solar eclipse. In fact, few are, but this one is. And yeah, you have this eclipse, conjuncting Mercury retrograde. They're all in Gemini, so I think the issues of Gemini are being brought to our attention. We want to get together with friends again. We're going to want to do some short distance trips, and that can be very refreshing. Actually, I'm not one of the astrologers that says don't travel during Mercury retrograde, because I think that maybe travel is exactly what we need to refresh ourselves. But there's a lot of mental strain during Mercury retrograde, and the travel can help with that sometimes. But you can't expect it to go smoothly, and I would not travel, if at all I could avoid it, I would not travel long distances during Mercury retrograde. I would think in terms of short day trips, or just easy trips, or going back to places where you've been before so you have your routine more down, or you have more of a knowledge of the place. Mercury retrograde is just not the best time to do completely new things because things are more likely to break down during Mercury retrograde. There are more accidents during Mercury retrograde, and they're not all major. The reason that is because the equilibrium is off. I mean, today I reached in the fridge to grab this glass jar of roasted peppers marinated in olive oil, and it slid right out of my hand and went all over me and all over my white pants I had just put on. So that's Mercury retrograde, okay, right there. And this energy will be enhanced by the new moon. And, then we have the new moon is also squaring Neptune, the beautiful, spiritual, creative planet, the mystic Neptune, but it is also the planet of confusion and self-doubt and depression. So bottom line here, we are more prone right now, some of us at least, might be more prone to be moody, to be depressed, to have melancholy right now. I think that would happen anyway with Mercury retrograde, but now you've got this eclipse blowing it up. It's blowing up Mercury retrograde, intensifying it. And it's also squaring, if you know what that means, it's just a powerful 90-degree aspect to Neptune. So it's generating tension. So what to do about it? Well, I think the usual Mercury retrograde advice would apply even stronger here and for a longer period of time than after Mercury goes direct. Because remember, this eclipse has a longer cycle of effect. And what's that advice? That advice is to concentrate on refreshment of self and to prioritize. Don't take on more than you can handle right now. And also with the Neptune configuration, the Neptune influence, just be aware of your boundaries. And here's the thing, when you have energies like this with Neptune and also with Mercury retrograde, it actually weakens the physical system, okay? The equilibrium on a physical, biological, physiological, actual earthly level is weakened. It is thrown off. This is not just an interior spiritual phenomenon. It is interior. It is emotional. And so you're going to feel it in your emotions from time to time. I know the other day I actually felt a little bit moody and melancholy and depressed, and that's really unusual for me this time of year because I just love gardening season, okay? And as you can see, I'm wearing my, butterfly cape today, and I'm in my green body, as I call it. I'm just channeling those green energies, and it makes me so happy. But I don't know, I was just feeling the funk, and I thought, well, it's almost that time of month. It is. So I thought, well, maybe that's what's going on. And then I realized, no, it's these energies. these energies, it's like they hack away at our emotions. They put strain on us. So even people who are normally cheery and uplifting, can have cracks. We can have cracks in our aura, and a lot of it's going to be because of the Neptunian influence. A lot of it's going to be, I think, doubt, self-doubt, confusion, doubting your path, doubting yourself. I have a video about believing in yourself, believing in your passion. Check that out if you're experiencing any of this, because especially right now, it's really important to believe in yourself, and especially if you can't believe in yourself, believe in your path, okay? Believe in your path. And I think, giving yourself a little extra TLC, avoiding psychic vampires to the best of your ability. If you don't know what I mean by that phrase, you do. Avoid those people who drain you, who are takers. I mean, it's okay not to return messages or phone calls or text or whatever it is right away from somebody who just keeps making demands upon you. It's okay to just maybe close the door a little bit more. You don't have to close it all the way, but maybe you don't leave the door wide open to these takers. Do you hear what I'm saying? You can still be a loving, spiritual being. In fact, you can be more loving and more kind if you don't encourage people who have this addiction to taking and using others. You don't want to encourage them to be psychic vampires. I mean, sometimes if you step back and you don't respond right away, well, they might just go and drain somebody else. That's true. But who knows, maybe that gives them a chance to figure out a way to take care of it themselves. And I do want to say, not everybody who makes requests, not everybody who asks for things, they're not all psychic vampires. And, a person could even be a little bit needy and not be a psychic vampire. So there is a difference. But even people in your life who, aren't psychic vampires, but maybe there's some who are a little bit needier, and maybe you could see ways that they could maybe lean on somebody else for support besides you all the time, or maybe there's things they can do for themselves. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about your children. If you're a parent, your children at home. I mean, if you're a parent, that's your job to nurture those children. It's the most important job on the planet, far more important than any other job I can think of. But we're talking about people who are grown adults and who need to learn to evolve on their path. So let them evolve, okay? And I don't know where this message is coming from, because I didn't really plan to talk about this, but I get the feeling that there's somebody watching this later who you need to hear this message, and you need to honor your boundaries right now and take care of you, because these energies are difficult. And the other thing is, too, I mean, you need to take some of your time and energy. All of us do, okay? I'm talking to me, too. We all need to be connecting with our creative and our spiritual selves right now. That's the highest vibration of Neptune. It's that creative, artistic element. I mean, if you have something you love doing that is creative, I mean, if you don't, find something. Just find something that you can get into, okay? If you are musical, play your instrument. I have noticed that the people that I know who are musicians are doing much better right now with the Mercury retrograde eclipse energies. Let me clarify. The people who I know who are musicians who are practicing their instruments. And when I say they're musicians, most of them aren't professionals, okay? There's people who sing or play music, or some of them dance too, so I know dancers too. So these people who can tune into those Neptune energies, they're doing very good, much better than others, with feeling joyful. And listen, if you don't play an instrument, that's fine, but you could listen to some music, right? And you could dance. You don't have to do it professionally or anything like that. I think that would really help to balance some of these energies. Movement and meditation. Movement, meditation, and music, the 3 M's, okay? That is the cure, so to speak, energetically, or if you're getting the blues during Mercury retrograde, solar eclipse, combo, square Neptune. There's other things going on too that I didn't even mention. Anyway, on that note, I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you'll lean into these energies. In addition to the 3 M's, I hope you'll, honor yourself in other ways and just listen. And if emotions come up that need to be looked at and processed, acknowledge them. But remember, you are not your emotions. Your emotions are something that moves through you, something that you experience. You are the experiencer of the emotions. So there's something even higher beyond that. There's something cosmic, right? That's why we pay attention to the energies, because we're tapping in to the cosmic reality. On that note, I am invoking the blessings of the cosmos for you, and may you be blessed with peace, with inner equilibrium, with harmony, with abundance, and perfect health, joy, and love. And so it is. Bright blessings.